I was going to say good morning, but it may not be morning where you are. It's actually a gorgeous day here in Colorado. And the first thing I want to tell you is thank you guys. Thank you for being here. I'm seeing you join. It's encouraging to see you popping in. And I'm Jeff Calaguar, if you don't already know that. And I am really excited and at the same time feel a sense of weight of what I want to share with you today. And this topic somehow attracted you, whether it was, hey, you just saw these things popping up on social media, or you feel like this is a time for you to either find your well-being in the workplace, or it's your time to help bring that as a vision to your culture, to your community, to your world. Either way, I believe there's a lot in what we're going to do today. And my hope is that this will be a gift to you. And so there's a quote from Jim Rohn that says, the greatest gift you can give somebody is the gift of your own personal development. And I know the first person you need to give that gift to is yourself. You know, as you come into today in your workplace, if you're having lunch right now, if you're watching this on recording, my hope is that you'll give this as a gift to yourself. So I want to invite you first to just close the door if you can, or unless you're somewhere where you can't, or even better, go outside, or, just turn off some of your social media, turn off your phone if you're not on it right now. But I hope that this time will bring to you an inspiration and an encouragement, as well as just a sense of peace. So let me share my screen. I'm going to be going through some things. And first, as I tune in, I'm just going to have you go through a couple exercises with me that I think can help you tune in even better, especially as we're talking about well-being in the workplace. And yes, I had to sit there and do it in my own office today in order to be present with you. So let me share my screen. And here I come. There we go. Going to hit play. Okay, so in case you don't know, if you're in the wrong place, this is called Well-Being in the Workplace. And I'm going to act as your coach today. So I want you to see this as a coaching session, and I want you to give me the permission to be your coach as I coach you in some of these zones of well-being. Okay, so fair, will you give me that permission? I don't have a way to interact with a chat, but on Q&A, you can type in yes. I promise you, I'm not going to be able to answer your questions right away, but I can get back to you later if you have questions or thoughts. I love to hear the thoughts, interactions, as you might imagine. So two things I would hope for you to receive today. And number one is I want you to come away from when we start now to when we're done with more peace. Okay, so that's my job, is to help this be something that inspires you, encourages you, and brings you more peace. You know, my cat is just jumping up on my desk here. You may get to meet Ella. Number two is I want you to have a better experience at work. You spend an incredible amount of time, whether you're working out of your home or in an office or somewhere else, you have an incredible amount of your time is doing that, whether it's 40 hours, 52 hours, hopefully not 60 hours. But I want to see you, starting with you, have a better experience of your work. So peace, so if you're open to that, you can type in, I guess, in the Q&A, I'm open to that. You want more peace. You want a better experience of your work. And so the first thing I want to just start with is you may have already had a full day today. You may already have had things happen that were not what you planned. And so the first thing I want to do is just have you breathe. And what I've learned is, especially during the workday, a lot of us forget to breathe. Yes, I know we're still alive, so we're still breathing, but we breathe really shallow. So there's a book called Breath by James Nestor. Totally recommend it. But let me just invite you, if you can, to close your eyes. Okay, so close your eyes. And then I'm going to have you breathe in for 4 seconds and breathe out for 8. And sometimes the thing we don't do is breathe out. So I'm just going to count. So breathe in for 4 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now breathe out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do it again. Breathe in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathe out for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now, if you notice, there's something incredibly relaxing just about breathing out. And most of us, we breathe in and then we don't even think about breathing out. And if you read the book on breath, you'll find there's something super important about breathing out. And that may be what you take away today. You may come away going, wow, it was all worth it to tune into this because I breathed out now. But in the middle of your day from now on, if you find yourself, not breathing, breathe in for 4 seconds, breathe out for 8. There's other breathing techniques I teach in other things, but simply that can just allow you to tune into your body and to your well-being. Okay. So throughout this whole time together, keep breathing. Promise? All right. Psychology today, well-being. We're going to talk about well-being. Well-being is more than happiness. And I sometimes think we measure, am I happy? And what they say in psychology today that is really true is well-being is the experience of health and happiness and prosperity. It includes having good mental health, high life satisfaction, a sense of meaning or purpose, and the ability to manage stress. More generally, well-being is just feeling well. And for a lot of people in their workday, they don't feel like they've got a lot of those things. If that's true, just type it in the Q&A. I agree, that's true. So the reality of our world, okay, Gallup did just this year, a global employee well-being study, and they found that 35% of people are thriving. That's the good news. 56% of people are struggling. 9% of people are suffering. So if you net out, you look at it, 65% of people are in the negative category. And as you show up today, my hope is that you're in the green, not in the pink or definitely the red, but sometimes we are. And some of the people that you work with, whether they're employees or coworkers or they're your clients, they may be in one of those reddish areas. So, this is a big deal. Most people put themselves as struggling or just surviving or suffering in this area. So if your employer cares about your well-being, okay, does your employer care about your well-being? If you are the employer, do you care about the well-being of those who work with you? And if you do, here's the case: 69% less likely to actively search for a new job. All right. So they'll stay with the company. They'll stay with your organization. They'll stay with your church. If you care about their well-being, they're 71% less likely to report experiencing burnout. So there's something that we can do. Burnout isn't just a virus coming our way. There's really something that we can do. Next, 5 times more likely to advocate for their company. They're going to say, hey, this is a great place, great people. 3 times more likely to be engaged in work. And we'll talk about in a second how most people are disengaged. 36% more likely to be thriving in their overall life. So what happens at work, and if the employer cares about well-being, that's a powerful thing that happens, right? The challenge is, if you ask most people, do they care about your well-being? Does your employer care about your well-being? You can see how it's gone down even in the last couple of years since the COVID experience. 24% say my employer cares about my well-being. I totally agree with that. I strongly agree with it. So even though there's this amazing ROI to caring about the well-being of your team, your staff, and being cared for, most don't have it on their radar. And that's why I felt like, all right, I'm thinking about this. I care about this. I see how it's affected my life. I want to bring it to you, and I want to bring you some steps to actually have you both experience your own well-being and then be part of the solution to how and what we can do. Okay. So the emotional workplace reality, again, some reality checks. Currently, 25% of American workers feel ignored at work. They don't even feel like anyone really notices them. 62% of workers globally feel emotionally detached. So most people that you're working with or around don't feel like they really matter in their work. They feel detached. And when you're detached, think of all the implications of that. Do you bring your best self to something you're detached from? Do you show up? Do you radiate energy, or are you a downer? 18% feel downright miserable. So if you're looking around, 18% of people, they just hate their life at work. So again, I want to bring you some good news and some steps that we can do in our time today. So a stressful work environment creates stressful leaders, right? Environment impacts you. If you've ever been in an environment that's stressful, you feel stressed out, right? But stressful leaders create stressful work environments. You may have heard speed of the leader, speed of the team, stress of the leader, stress of the team, stress of the team, stress of the leader. It works both ways. The good news on the corollary is a peaceful work environment creates peaceful leaders, not peaceful out leaders, peaceful leaders. Peaceful leaders create peaceful work environments. And so what would it mean to grow 3%, 10%, 20% in having more peace in what you're doing? Or, all right, the truth is you might need to leave something if it's not going to bring you that. But we can talk more about that maybe at another time. You've been on airplanes, you know this analogy. They tell you, if the oxygen mask drops, if you're a parent, put it on yourself first and then put it on your child. So this is for you today as a leader, or as an aspiring leader, as a coach, for ways that you can actually put the well-being mask on you. Something many don't care about and makes me care. So something most people don't know about, and this is what makes me care so much. So I want to show you a picture of me. I had to get a new passport some years ago, and I noticed this. I had to take my old passport, and there was a picture of me in there. So if you can see this, you can see me. Do I look like a picture of well-being? Or do I look stressed out, burnt out, tired, and emotionally fried? Okay. The reality was, at this time of this passport picture, I was on 4 medications. 2 of them were antidepressants. One was an ADD medication. One was for high triglycerides. And I was just in a place that it was affecting my health. It was affecting my work. And it was doing terrible things to my wife, to my kids. And we still have had to recover from some of what I went through there. But again, part of the reason I care about this, the next picture is 10 years later. And you can see in the picture that I was a different person. And I look at what happened. And part of it was going through a journey that I write about in a book called The Habits of Hope, where I had to stop taking the medication, and I did it in a way that wasn't dangerous. But I learned some of these things that bring about well-being, and my life is different. The way I sleep is different. I used to not sleep through the night. I don't take any more medications. I actually don't feel addicted to food the way I was. I have a much better relationship with my wife, Mindy. We've been married for 36 count 'em years. That's at a wedding with our final son got married down in Hawaii. And then this is my family. I've got a very close family. They love each other. I love them. They love me. And I know that had I not gone through what I'm going to share with you today, that would not be the case. In fact, my wife would admit we probably would not have still be married. It's that important. This well-being thing is not just like oh, that's a cool thing to do too. For many people, it's a matter of life and death or life and total unhealth. So again, this is a little bit why I care so much. And now here's what I want to tell you. If I can change, you can change. And if you can change, they can change. And that's a message of hope. I'm just telling you that I am not where I was because of some of these things I'm going to share. So have you ever heard of mirror neurons? In a study in 1992 among monkeys, they found that if a monkey was doing something, a part of their brain was firing. But then if another monkey was doing something and they weren't doing it, the same part of their brain would fire. So in other words, monkey see, monkey do. What they found is when we experience other people, it causes us to react. And a similar thing would be a yawn, right? When somebody's yawning, we'll yawn. How come? Because of mirror neurons. When somebody is stressed, how do you feel? You feel stressed. If somebody is engaged and excited, you feel engaged and excited. So your environment right now, whether you like it or not, is influencing you, and you are influencing your environment. And so I know, and I've come to realize that as a coach, how I show up for my clients matters. If I'm stressed, anxious, hurried, worried, it's going to affect them. So what's happening in your work environment right now is impacting you, whether it's over Zoom or whether it's in person, whatever it is, you're being impacted because you've got a thing as well called mirror neurons. What environments are affecting you negatively, and what environments are currently affecting you positively? I just shared this with a mastermind I lead yesterday. I've never lost 35 pounds until I was in an environment that helped me lose 35 pounds. And we did it in a healthy way. But your environment will affect you negatively or positively. The well-being of those around you is affecting you. So one way I know this, when I was in high school and college, I used to work for my father's company in downtown New York City. He ran a paper company. So think Dunder Mifflin in New York. Okay. I don't know who that makes my dad as the character. But anyway, he was the president. And I worked for part of the time in the order department. And I sat with my desk facing Frances. And Frances chain smoked. She had the mouth of a sailor, constantly cussing, except when she was on with a client, and constantly complaining. Every time she'd get off the phone, she's like, I can't stand that person. And so I was constantly affected by Frances until I couldn't stand it no more. You probably heard Popeye. It's all I can stand and I can't stand no more. Have you ever worked in an environment where somebody is what John Gordon, a friend of mine, calls an energy vampire, where they just suck you dry, where you spend time in their presence and you just feel stressed? You feel tired. That was what Frances was for me. And what I've realized is I have been an energy vampire for other people. True confession. I have been that person. I grew up where it was actually a positive thing to complain. And so many workplaces are filled with complainers. So the Bible tells us we have a choice. We don't have to allow that to control us. Don't be conformed to this world. Don't be conformed to a negative workplace. Don't be conformed to an environment that's draining you, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. One of the most powerful things in science is this idea, also besides mirror neurons, this thing called neuroplasticity. And what it means is your brain can change. Your thinking actually changes the very real estate of your brain. New neurons and dendrites are formed as you think thoughts. And those thoughts can be positive, healthy thoughts, or they can be draining, negative, toxic thoughts. So the challenge is to be the change, is to see that I can change my mind and I can change my life. And that is really good news for those of us who've grown up in negative environments or work in a negative environment. We have a choice. So the problem still is this thing called 60 to 70,000. Do you know what those are? Those are the amount of thoughts that you have a day. Okay. So your brain is constantly thinking thoughts. Here's something interesting. 95% of those thoughts are the same thoughts you had yesterday. Okay. So you're thinking the same thoughts. So think about what you thought about yesterday. Your brain is actually kind of on cruise control and you're thinking the same thoughts. 80% of those thoughts are negative. Okay, so imagine what's happening in the physical elements of your brain: negative thought, worried thought, anxious thought, angry thought. Now your brain is allowing those to basically take over and become your reality. So, again, this is no small matter. This is a big deal. That the fact is that our thoughts are living our lives and we don't even realize it. Most are basically unconscious. And most people don't just change. Okay. If I said to you, don't think those 80% negative thoughts. There was a study that I recently read about where um, doctors told patients, if you don't change, you will die soon. Okay. Within a year, within 2 years. If you don't change your diet, don't change your exercise, don't stop smoking, you will actually die. How many people do you think made the change when they heard that from the doctor? 1 in 7. Only 1 in 7 changed when they knew they had to change or die. So this change thing is a big deal, and it affects the effectiveness of your work. It affects the outcome and the culture of your work. And if you're leading a company, the emotional element of your company is affecting your bottom line. It's just the truth. But most people can't change. So, transformational coaching, what I've been engaged in for the last 22 years, and now train other people in, is the belief that most of what's going on inside of our self is unconscious. It's below the level of the iceberg. It's below the water level. What we can imagine often is just the above the surface. Subconsciously, you are being affected. So most change things are like, all right, you just need better results. In order to have better results, you need better actions. So set more goals, do more, be accountable. And those things are good things. But I won't go through all the levels today. I'm going to start with the level today we're going to focus on is emotions. Your emotions are affecting your actions. If you're not motivated, you're not going to do something. If you're angry, you're going to show up in a way to your clients or your work that affects you. If you're sad or depressed, you're not going to take action. So in coaching, part of what this transformational idea is, we need to get to the lower levels in order to bring real change. You can't just tell someone, go run a marathon. You've got to get to their emotion. I'm motivated to run a marathon. And then ultimately, this affects their destiny. I believe there's a spiritual component of this that makes me feel like I have to do this work. I have to do it for myself, and I have to help others do it because destinies are at stake. Kids' lives are at stake. 20-somethings' lives are at stake. Your employee's destiny is at stake. Okay, so transformational coaching, and I'm just scratching the surface here, is starting to get to where your emotions impact your actions, which impact your results. So, does this work? I just thought I'd share a couple things from clients. One client who's got a PhD shared with me the other day. He said, Jeff is a true game changer. When I was down, he brought my strengths back to where they needed to be. And he said, I was Popeye, and Jeff was right. I had all I could stand, and I couldn't stand no more. Today, I'm one of the leading fundraisers for abused and neglected children in the U.S. due to Jeff's coaching. He's that good. All right, that made me feel good. But anyway, I've seen this work. Okay, and that's why I share this. Number two. Why is this not? There it is. John, another client, said, I came to Jeff because I was frustrated by some obstacles that I'm having a hard time breaking through in my current career. Instead of focusing on obstacles themselves, Jeff helped me see into my heart and tap into my desire. So it's going to the lower levels. I walked away feeling clear and most of all, knowing what I want in life. And then Melissa, who I trained to coach, she said, I'm feeling really equipped. We Train Coaches has given me everything I need to coach and lead others to transformation. I couldn't imagine any other route that could have done a better job getting me there. So all to say is I've been coached. I still have a coach. I've seen it work and I want it to grow. I believe coaches are today's new spiritual leaders. And I want other people to experience the power of positive transformational coaching. So yes, but how? Why BH? Where do I even start? Right. And the faulty thinking again says I could just learn more, go to get more education. I could drink more. I could, work out more. I could just work harder and harder. Maybe it's more money. But here's what I'm going to share today. It's the transformational process. And I want to take you through four things that really bring about positive change that can bring well-being in our personal life and in our workplace. So I'm going to take you through these four things. So number one, it's actually becoming aware and feeling your emotions. I'm a guy, so I understand this. A lot of times we've almost been trained not to look at our emotional gauge. Big boys don't cry. You can't feel sad. There's no crying in baseball. One of my favorite lines in a movie, no crying in baseball. But we have gauges in our lives. I mean, in a car, you have your gas, you have your RPMs, you have your battery. One of the gauges that most have almost neglected, and nobody taught us this. We didn't get taught in school. Most of us didn't get taught. We didn't learn this in home. We didn't even learn this in church for a lot of us. We didn't learn how to actually tune in and pay attention to the value of our current emotions. So what are they telling you? You've got current emotions, even this very second. What are they telling you? And then here's something that as I studied this and got prepared to share this with you, an emotion for many times is really a guess. It's an experience in the present of our guess or prediction for the future. Okay, so we're actually feeling an emotion now, but it's actually our mind and our imagination creating what we see as the future. Let me explain. So what I see is the colors of the rainbow, and actually a part of a coaching process. And if you're a coach, I'd encourage you to learn these. It's called sachet. And I learned this from doing some men's work, where basically these are basic emotions that you can tune into even during the day, at night, in the morning, or if you're working with a client. Am I sad? Am I angry? Am I sad, angry, or scared? So here, those are the harder emotions. Happy, excited, or tender. So how are those guesses about the future? What are you guessing if you're thinking these? So if you're sad, you might be saying, will I suffer loss? If I'm angry, will my control be taken away from me? I find if I'm having an argument with my wife, yes, we've had those. I'm not wanting to be controlled. I don't want my control to be taken. I find myself angry when I see an organization or the government taking away freedom or control. So anger is often a sense of that, and it can be other things. But scared, will I be in danger? I'm going to be in danger. Happy, on the other hand, is more good's going to happen. This is awesome. Excited, even better. This is going to be fun. It's going to be great. It's going to be enjoyable. Tender, I'm going to feel deeply. I feel compassionate. I'm going to feel that way about you. So again, something to just tune into, in your emotions. So the start of it is like, how do you become actually aware of your emotions? So if you've got a pen, write down which of these are you feeling right now, this very second, not this morning, not later. Which of these emotions are you currently experiencing? Okay. And it can be more than one. It can be all of them. It can't be none. So we'll just choose at least one, and then say, what is the prediction or the guess behind that or those emotions? Okay. Number two. So one is feeling emotions. Number two, as part of a transformational process, is healing negativity. And in coaching and the 8 coaching habits that I train on, this seems to be one of the most important ones as I work and train coaches. And in my coaching, I feel like no matter who you're coaching, they experience negativity and it can be different from them. So part of what you're doing is helping diagnose what is that negativity below the surface? Where is it coming? So should you believe everything you think or feel? I've got a friend named Joe Greslak, one of my best friends, and he says, Jeff, don't believe everything you think. Okay. Should you be believing, what your emotion is telling you? I'm scared. This is going to happen. Okay. Can you question that? The second thing is, what are your ants and how are they getting in? What are your ants? Maybe you've heard this. It comes from Dr. Daniel Amen. And Dr. Amen teaches that an ant is an automatic negative thought. Okay. And we're probably not conscious because they're automatic. So when I stand up to do a talk, I feel nervous. Well, how come? Because it's automatic. My brain is telling me something. If I'm having a conversation with a client or a potential client or someone who seems big, is there an emotion that I'm having, a thought that I'm having? And so an ant is just coming to you automatically, and it may come from, that's what your dad did. That's what your mom did. That's what your brother or sister did. So ants are a real problem. And we need our own version of RAID. We need to recognize them and we need to take evasive action. So how do you do that? One of the best little tools, and again, I'm scratching the surface here. We go way deeper in this, but there's, when you have a challenge affecting you. So let me just invite you to think right now, in your work, what's a challenge affecting you or a recent negative challenge? So what is the thought that's affecting you? Write that thought down. And from a coach named Byron Katie, she has this thing called the work. And I use this a lot in coaching and I use it with myself. So basically it's 4 questions about your negative thought. Number 1, is the thought true? Simply ask, okay, here's the thought. Is this true? I'm going to get sick. I'm going to have a fight with this person. I'm not going to make payroll. But whatever it is the thought true? So simply yes or no. The second question goes deeper. Can you absolutely know it's true? Now look around you and think, am I believing something that may not be true? Or is it true? But now you're challenging, can you absolutely know it's true? A lot of times you can't. You can't know it's absolutely true. Okay. So then number 3 is, what happens when you believe the thought? How does it affect you? How does it affect you emotionally? How does it affect your ability to work? How does it affect your relationships? What happens when you believe that thought? Okay. And then number 4 is, who would you be without the thought? Would your life be different? If you didn't have this negative thought, would you actually write the book? Would you be more confident? Would you have the date? Would you have a better relationship with your tough to relate to son or daughter? Who would you be without the thought? So this process, I would encourage you to take a picture of the screen, write these down. These are gold. Okay. And again, they're only part of the way that we work to address negativity in coaching. But, again, I feel like start here, look at these and then do the work. And sometimes you might need to do the work again and again for 30 days. It may not be instant, but this is transformational. These questions are transformational. All right. So feeling emotions, healing negativity. Number 3 is hearing how you're gifted. Okay. The fact is, most people who will show up at work don't know they are good. They wonder, do I fit? Do I have something to offer? And I've coached some people who are at the high end, CEOs or creatives, and they are really gifted, and they haven't heard they're gifted because they were never told by their dad, by their mom, by their coach, by their teacher. And my guess is all of us have had a teacher who did say something or see something in us and said, "Hey, you're a great quarterback, or you're a great receiver, or you're a great designer. You're great at math." And so the idea of a calling is that you're actually responding and you're hearing the calling. So much emotion is wasted because we're comparing ourselves. Okay. So, number one, we've got to hear enough to stop comparing ourselves. And then the other thing is get ourselves more and more in the energized zone where we're using the best of us. So, when are all cylinders for you firing? If you've ever driven a car where one cylinder isn't firing, two cylinders aren't firing, what's it like? Right? It's clunky. It's broken. So the goal is emotionally and well-being is you want to be in a place where all cylinders are firing, where you're using your best gifts, or as the term flow. You're in the zone where you're using the best of your gifts more and more, and you're letting go, you're saying no, or you're getting a different role that you're going to be having all cylinders firing. Because when all cylinders aren't firing and you're going against the grain, how does it feel? Doesn't it feel draining? Doesn't it feel like your energy is kind of being sucked from you? So here's the exercise, okay? Right now, what's a picture of you on fire in your work? Okay, there's pictures of you personally or maybe athletically, but when you're on fire, when all cylinders are firing, just close your eyes for a second and picture yourself where you're in the zone, where you're doing what you're made to do, where you're using your best gifts. Where do you see yourself? What are you doing? Okay. And then here's a question for you. Is that what you're doing with most of your time or more and more of your time? And again, a value of coaching is putting together the way you work so that more and more you are in the zone doing what you're meant to do. And that there's, getting in your sweet spot can take looking at different aspects. So, as I coach or work with companies, it's really about helping more and more people get in their sweet spots. As I train coaches, the idea is how do you coach in a way that uses the best gifts you have? And so I want you to hear that. And so we do assessments. We work with you to actually make sure that you're saying no more and more to the things that are draining you, wasting your time, or actually even taking away from what others have to offer. Okay. So part of what's changed my life is I no longer do a lot of the things that were draining and that weren't me. And so even as I approach, different areas of times of my life, I want more and more to be in my sweet spot. Don't you? Okay. So what would it look like to hear your own gifting in this season and beyond? Okay, the last one is seeing well-being in you and them. Okay, so you're going to feel your emotions, heal negativity, hear you're gifted, and see well-being in yourself. Number one, see a vision for that, and then see that in others and call it out, picture it, help them see what it looks like when they're living their best, their potential. So visualize your ideal, unhurried, and effective day. Okay, so when you're unhurried, like if you picture a great day where you're not rushed, stressed, anxious, what's that day like? So part of the coaching process is always helping somebody. I'm meeting with someone in an hour from now. We'll go through that process. Visualize your ideal unhurried and effective day, and then see the best coming out as you then coach others to do the same thing. I receive and then I give. It's like what a healthy cell does. Okay. So part of this journey in equipping you is to help you become, grow your well-being, but then also help others. So one of my favorite little stories I'll share with you now comes from a spiritual talk that a guy had with his mentor. And the guy's name was John Ortberg. He was talking to his mentor, Dallas Willard. He said to Dallas, what is the key to the spiritual life? Dallas thought, looked down, real pensive, said, ruthlessly eliminate all hurry. And John said, wow, that's good. What else? And Dallas said, that's it. Just you must ruthlessly eliminate all hurry. So if you were to picture your own life where you're seeing yourself unhurried, not anxious, how does that affect your well-being in the workplace? And so many people work in workplaces where they feel hurried and anxious and deadlines that don't work. And so part of the vision of this kind of transformational coaching is to create a vision of the unhurried you. So imagine a vision for you and your people. What do you see for them? If you're a leader, imagine helping, starting with your family, your spouse, a vision of them living with well-being, helping them overcome, heal from negativity and hear where they're gifted, see them in their unhurried life. What do you see for them? Imagine your company, your church, your organization with health, so that, dirty little secret, I've been in organizations where you find out most people are on antidepressants because they're so anxious, okay? It doesn't need to be that way. There is hope, but it starts with you. It starts with me having a vision, and the results and the destiny are going to come from the emotions. And so, my journey has been equipping and helping other people in this area. My calling, where I'm gifted, is to raise up other people to thrive, to be effective, to live the dream, but do so in a way that doesn't cause burnout, that doesn't create the stress. And to me, what we've created, Whisper Ranch here in Colorado, is creating the space for that. We train coaches is to raise up coaches as spiritual leaders where they have the time to process and become fully whole as they help others become fully whole. So imagine coaches working with leaders, impacting people, and there's ripple effects. That's the world that I hunger for. That's it's what brings tears to my eyes, because I hunger for that kind of work environment, that kind of life, because I know what the hell of not having it is, and know I was almost suicidal. I never had a plan, but I thought, wow, I can see what killing myself could look like. I no longer feel that way, and I want to see people thriving because we've brought this transformational process. So as you're listening to this, you might be going, wow, that's interesting. Or this might be touching your heart right now. And you might be saying, golly, I want to be a part of something like that. I want to be equipped to do that. I want to bring these kind of things. And again, this is just the tip of the iceberg of the tools and the ways and processes that we've developed to raise up a generation of spiritually alive, thriving coaches that bring well-being in the workplace and well-being in the world. And so if you're listening to this and you're going, I want to know more, I want you to know more. My hunger is to be in connection with you who are saying, yes, I'm open. Yes, I'm ready. Yes, sign me up. And so, what is your growth area? Number one, where are you needing, healing? Where are you needing to feel? Where are you needing to hear? So what is your growth area, and how might you then become kind of like the 12th step in the 12-step process, where now you're giving back, you're carrying the message to others? How might you then ultimately coach others? And the first step really is to be coached. And if you've never worked with a transformational coach, my promise to you, and I was talking to some people yesterday, can we guarantee? I can almost guarantee you are going to experience effective, powerful growth that transforms you towards your full potential. It's going to affect your relationships. It's going to affect your health. It's going to affect your finances. It's going to affect your vocation. It's going to affect your soul. Okay. We want to work with you to succeed in living the life that I believe God has for you. But that's a journey where you're going to work with someone and see that and experience it yourself. You can't take someone someplace you haven't been before. And so if you haven't been coached, don't hold yourself out as a coach. Experience it. More is caught than taught when it comes to coaching. So one, experience your own transformational coaching. Two, become a certified transformational coach. And that's what We Train Coaches exist for, is to help you not just be certified, because that doesn't mean anything. It's to be effective. It's to be a thriving coach. So the 3 books that are not available but are part of this process is number 1, just called Transformational Coaching, Unlocking Your Best Life and Discovering Your Soul's True Potential. It's part of what I've been talking about today. And then we're going to work on the 8 coaching habits, which is how you then carry out that transformational coaching. The thriving coach is, how do you build a business? How do you build a business and thrive and it be you? So if you're listening and you're going, all right, I want to talk, I'd like to have a conversation with you. I'm going to invite you to do a next step. And the first 5 people who take that next step, at no cost, no obligation, I'm going to send you the Transformational Coaching book, hard copy. Okay. So if you just sign up, and this is how you do it. If you're saying, I want to build a viable practice, or I want to be coached, I want to work with the right clients, I want to have a lasting and significant, including spiritual impact. I want to have a lifestyle of freedom that can grow and use my best skills. If that's you, what are your next steps? So basically, we've got a site, www.wetraincoaches.com/next steps. So I want to say, I'll send that to you right after we're done, but you can also just copy that, wetraincoaches.com/next steps. And you can do three things. One, you can apply for coaching. You're going, I want this kind of coaching, or I know someone who needs this kind of coaching. I'm going to send it to them. You can take the assessment to see if coaching is for you. Or if you're like, all right, I know I'm in, I just need to have a conversation. Again, you're not committing. There's no price of it. If you're really open to the process, schedule a call. The first 5 people who do that, I'll send you a copy of the Transformational Coaching book. And the fact that you stayed this long means that you care about transformational coaching. So I feel like I am one of the luckiest guys in the world, because I get to carry a message that I really believe in, that God has made us to thrive, that we've been called to a destiny. But in order to do that, we've got to heal in many ways. We got to heal our emotions. We've got to heal physically for some of us. And coaching is a way that now exists. I've been doing it for 22 years, but it didn't used to exist when I got my job. You have the opportunity now to join a community of other people who are involved in this work. And it, I believe, is the work. I think it's the most important work in the world, but I know other people might beg to differ. But I would love to have a conversation with you, so you can go. Again, the first 5 people, I'll make sure I send a hard copy of that book. Schedule a call, and we'll just talk about how this is going to impact you. And the amazing thing is, you can get paid to do this. People actually pay me to coach them in this stuff. And I believe it's well worth the investment. I've been coached for many years, and if you don't have a coach, you're missing out. Again, you could just go right and apply for the big shift session, but do take action. Do take one of these next steps, and let's together, okay? Because alone doesn't work, and I've seen that, and that's why I've created this community. That's why Whisper Ranch is now here in Colorado, to create a way to raise up a generation of leaders who aren't flamed out, burnt out, struggling, feeling isolated and alone, but they're living the life, and that starts with them personally, and it includes, very importantly, their work. Guys, I would love to hear your feedback on this. Love to hear your questions. Send them to me. You'll have my email, and let's together be the change that we wished that we had, and be the world that we wished or we want to see. So I know that's kind of a we are the world statement, but I believe it in my heart of hearts, and I look forward to watching it unfold, even as you respond and we have a conversation. God bless you guys. Thanks for taking the time, and let's make it happen. God bless.